r/AskReddit by Reddit and chill. What's a negative fact about marijuana we should know? It crosses the placenta. A lot of misinformed women don't realize this and self-medicate with weed against pregnancy pains. Edit. I am in dental school. Here are the risks I learned in embryology where I was told to advise against it. I'm just trying to inform people and I'm not here to argue or judge. Decreased fetal oxygen and increased carbon monoxide levels. Increased risk of miscarriage and low birth weight. Increased risk of future learning behavior delays. Potential fetal withdrawal symptoms. It is counterindicated by the American Pediatric Society. CDC GovLink. Can confirm. Hospitals reported to law enforcement when newborns test positive for THC, which happens frequently. I was a heavy smoker for a few years. I have my medical license and live in a state where it's legal. Got pregnant and stopped smoking. Told my doctor as I knew it would show up in pee tests for a while. They tested me my whole pregnancy. The day after my daughter was born they told me a social worker is coming in to talk to me and that they're testing my baby for THC because the nurses wrote I smoked my entire pregnancy and that it would be bad if she tested positive. My BF and I were paranoid as I had not smoked in 8-9 months and they came back hours later that everything was fine and there was miscommunication with the nurses' notes. That was the worst few hours of being threatened with my baby being taken away after I knew I was clean for months. Edit. Thank you everyone for the kind words and sharing experiences of your own. Was not expecting this to blow up. It's unfortunate we have to treat a plant with such shame. But I'm glad to share my experience as a reminder to everyone to enjoy Mary Jane responsibly. I can't believe the stress they caused you. You were open and honest with them at the beginning. Good on you for kicking the habit whilst pregnant. I know a lot of people struggle to even cut down. You're still inhaling smoke into your lungs, which is harmful. Edit. Yes, I'm aware that there are other ways to use weed. The fact remains that if you smoke it, which is the most widespread method of consumption, it's bad for your lungs. I feel like inhaling anything other than air into your lungs can't be good. Even inhaling air in certain places is bad for you. To be fair though, it isn't the air which is the problem in those places. It's what's in the air that shouldn't be. It's dangerous for dogs. Keep your stash well away from your pets. My friend's dog ate some vape leavings that fell on the floor. The dog started acting all weird, stumbling, not wanting to move and looking sick. They figured out what happened after an awkward trip to the vet. Shut up and do IT. Butters. Cannabis affects everyone differently. One person could get major anxiety relief from medicating, while another person could have an anxiety attack with the same herb. I've seen too many people try and label it a miracle drug that's the answer to all our prayers. Don't get me wrong. It's fantastic how far we've come. But stop sugarcoating it. Another person could have an anxiety attack with the same herb. That's me. Ask me anything. I have always assumed I was allergic to it because out of the 5 times I have tried it, it was unbearable and I just wanted to end the high. 10+ years later reflecting back I think I was having panic attacks each time and just didn't realize what was happening. This is the first time I have heard someone else that reacts the same way. Edit. There are dozens of us. Dozens. I have a friend that had tried it 5 times over the course of 4 years and never had a pleasurable experience for the entire duration. Anxiety was either immediate or delayed. Cannabinoid hyperemesis syndrome. I was a daily user for 30 years and developed it after heavy consumption during illness. Cedar Sinai org link. Edit. I am thankful this got some attention. I live in a city known for its cannabis use and was very open about my usage with healthcare professionals and it still took a dozen trips to the ER over the course of a year before I was properly diagnosed. I've had a comical number of serious health problems over the last 4 years but CHS was the thing that finally broke me. The link really doesn't highlight how distressing the symptoms can be. I would be sweating so profusely that my jeans and hoodie would be entirely soaked through. Then there's the scratching, a combination of screaming and retching, accompanied by seizures and extreme anxiety. At one point I was begging the doctor to kill me. I'm a brain tumor survivor. I've had one continuous headache for 4 years. I could go on and on but it was CHS that brought to that point. I hope this post helps others get diagnosed so they can experience some relief. Edit. If you are experiencing these symptoms, see your doctor to get a proper diagnosis and to increase awareness in the medical community. Edit. Neem oil does not cause CHS. Figrotop.com link. Row. Thanks for the great read. A lot of my experience makes sense now. I was smoking heavily for 15 years, recreationally and self-treating intense nausea and dry heaving. And when I tell people the nausea ended up being from the weed, they act like I'm crazy. I let myself be gaslighted to the point where I didn't believe it myself, and tried it again this year after 3 years off. The dry heaving came back within a week. I'm finally done with it for good. That nausea was no joke. It was so bad I was contemplating regularly. My mum used to get sick from weed. Apparently my dad and their best friends decided it would be funny to get her stoned and put some in her pre-rolled cigarette. She didn't find it so funny when she started dry retching. Just tagging on to add a note about sneaking pot into people's smokes or giving them edibles without their knowledge. Don't do it. There are so many reasons why this isn't a move, but one sticks out for me. Some people are allergic to THC cannabis. After attempting to try smoking a few times, my best friend has vomited and had a hard time breathing, airways swelling. Ingesting it makes her very ill. She can touch the dried plant though. Edit. For formatting. The smell to non-smokers is very prevalent. My mum was oblivious to what the smell was for years. She genuinely thought there was some trendy body spray because everyone in my town stunk of it. I corrected her like a fucking idiot. She thought I just had new wax. I went to Amsterdam for my senior class trip. In our country weed is illegal, so of course everyone was smoking, hoping not to be caught. One particular teacher had no idea what weed smelled like, so she thought she was smelling beer. One of my fucking idiot classmates straight up told her no, this is actually marijuana. I wanted to slaughter her. Thought she was smelling beer. Hops are closely related to weed. Very hoppy beers do smell a lot like weed. People want to claim it's not addictive. While that may be true on a biochemical level, I'll be damned if I don't know a bunch of people that act identical to addicts when it comes to pot. Edit. Mr. Word. It's 100% able to be psychologically addictive. It's an action that has an instant reward. I can't understand how people think some things are magical exceptions from being addictive. The literal reason it's called psychological is that it's independent of the substance. Something makes brain feel good, brain wants more. You can get addicted to literally anything. So you mean like when someone drinks too much, or bets the house on the ponies, or when someone eats too much chocolate cake, or like when someone eats too much chocolate cake and then barfs it back up? Panic attacks. For me, and I guess many others, weed accentuates and magnifies any feelings I have prior or during the high. If I'm happy, weed makes me laugh till I cry happy. If I'm horny, weed makes me crazy horny. If I'm feeling depressed or anxious, much more sad anxious, to the point of inducing panic attacks. I have absolutely no history of panic attacks, and have only ever had them while very stoned and feeling low. It's a fucking horrible feeling though. Short of breath, become paranoid about breathing, heart rate skyrockets, sweat comes on, convince myself I could potentially have a heart attack at any moment. It spirals until I almost convince myself I'm about to die. 2 hours of manic terror. Then slowly I get my senses back and think, why the yuck do I put myself through that willingly? Sometimes weed can be good for thinking outside the box and gives me clarity on things I must do to improve as a person. Other times it can scare the living shit out of me. I guess it all depends on your state of mind. I also find when smoking in a social setting surrounded by people I like, that I never experience panic attacks. Must be related to state of mind, in that you are enjoying yourself in friends' company. Here's a comment of mine that I sent to someone else. I have been smoking for almost 2 years and last night I had a sort of panic attack. I took a week-long break from smoking, and last night I decided to end my streak and toke up. I smoked 2 puffs and already felt stoned, but I was a fool, and decided to smoke more, and more. After 6 puffs I started feeling anxious and my heart was beating super fast. I was definitely panicking. My subconscious had taken over my mind and my thoughts were only negative. I forced myself to calm down and had a glass of water, but it was awful, and it was the first time this has ever happened to me. It could have been the strain. which was a new strain that my friend gave me that was probably a sativa with low CBD, and it was probably also my lowered tolerance, and my mom has anxiety so I think it runs in the family. Anyway, it was a pretty bad experience and I hope it won't happen again. Panic attacks caused by weed is seriously scary. I had been smoking with my buddies for a month before I had mine. They were all experienced and one of my friends was going through med school at the time. Well, I took 3 big hits and all of a sudden I could feel my face go flush. My hands got sweaty. My mind was racing a million miles an hour. Luckily my GF recognized I wasn't doing too good and took me to bed. She left the room once we both thought I was good and ready to sleep. Next thing I know my heart is beating out of my chest and I start screaming call 911. All of my friends come to the door. Luckily, my med buddy has my GF hold everyone back while he explains to me no one has OD on weed and that it'll pass. It made me feel better. For weeks after I felt my chest hurt and I didn't smoke for close to a year. I was the only one that experienced it that night so I doubt it was laced. Some people think panicking on weed is funny. It's not. I have anxiety already as it is. And when I got to college I found that weed started to make me paranoid. You go into a place you can't escape from, and you're stuck in a state of morbid terror. I tell people all the time my worst fear is accidentally eating an edible or smoking wax on accident. If you smoke regularly you're still kinda spacey even when you're sober. I'm a stoner but I've gone on a few extended breaks because of it. I don't know any sources for my claim except for experience. So maybe it's just me but I doubt that. It's definitely not just you. I'm currently on a break myself and I can recall thoughts, conversations, and even past memories much better than I could while smoking. I can recall thoughts, conversations, and even past memories much better than I could while smoking. Being able to not recall thoughts, conversations, and even past memories is why some of us smoke. Edit. Medical marijuana is available for those suffering from PTSD. Guys, I'm not self-medicating. I'm using under medical guidance. You should probably also be talking to someone about those feelings. My friend used to smoke heavy at some point of his life. A few years later he stopped. He said it scared him when he came to a realization that he can barely remember any events or stuff we did together in the past few years. That's me now and I don't smoke weed. I'm told it's a sign of severe depression. Can it just be trauma? I don't remember much without prompting, but I feel much less depressed than I once was. Spotty memory is absolutely a symptom of trauma, yes. A certain subsect of marijuana smokers will let it consume their life even if it's not chemically addictive. This can be wildly destructive. Like anything, consume in moderation. Edit. I know that marijuana can lead to an addiction by way of dopamine release. Same as with literally everything else. I included that clause because people have started night-long arguments with me over that shit and I didn't feel like arguing with stoners through my entire shift. Edit 2. It was suggested that I mention r/leaves. They literally tackle this exact problem by helping people combat addiction, dependency, whatever you want to call it. Exactly. I think we all know that one guy who's always high starts forgetting time commitments. Never up for doing anything besides hanging at home, the park, whatever to smoke. Literally me. I needed to read this to realize I need to get my effing shit together. Thanks. Bye. r/leaves. I was an everyday smoker for the better part of 3 years. I had to quit cause it was ucking with my head, making me all paranoid. I've been sober 5 months now and holy shit, the dreams I have are incredible. I would never remember my dreams when I was smoking, even if I'd go for a little tea break every now and then. But now, my dreams are insanely vivid. I often have lucid dreams and OBs now. I look forward to sleeping because of this, whereas I used to just pass out. Also, during the first month or 2 of quitting, memories would just flood back to me. Long lost memories from years and years ago. Some good, some bad. But it was scary to see just how much I had forgotten due to being high all the time. Weed is a beautiful thing. It absolutely has its time and place. And under those circumstances it can be amazing. But when you smoke every day, it loses its magic and so do you. It dulls you down. Makes you content with doing nothing. I believe that anyone who says otherwise is in denial. But hey, This is all from my personal experience, so I could be completely wrong. Exactly this. There's use and there's abuse. If alcohol was treated like marijuana, it would be illegal too. Because of alcoholics who abuse it, instead of use it, a glass of wine or a beer is fine. But downing a bottle of Jack Daniels every morning before work isn't. Just like having a joint every weekend is fine. But having a joint every day before work isn't. Edit. If that joint before work inhibits your work, obviously. Not if you need it for medical reasons. Edit. Comparing a bottle of Jack Daniels to one joint is obviously not a fair comparison. It's more like having a few beers before work versus one joint. I agree with all of what you said. Daily smoker for 4 years now. I always bailed on quitting because of sleep though. I can't for the love of God fall asleep without it anymore. It's not like I could fall asleep before I started smoking anyway. It affects your memory, as well as your memory. A wise man once told me it also affects your memory. People who are really into it can sometimes be really boring because they won't talk about anything else. This is a legitimate concern. Once people smoke a lot, they tend to just want to get high. Why enjoy a hike in nature if we are not smoking a fat doobie? It gets exhausting with some people. Why would anyone want to do drugs when they can just mow a lawn? You ever enjoy a beautiful scenic hike on weed? Marijuana use in teens is associated with the development of psychosis and schizophrenia in a small percentage of users. Furthermore, there is a dose-response relationship. The more marijuana consumed by the teen, the greater the risk of psychosis. It should be noted that for there to be a risk you already have to be predisposed to it. However, the danger comes in as you are highly unlikely to know if you are or aren't as a teen unless you have a pretty detailed family history. Happened to my bro, massively schizo now. Not sure if it would have happened without the weed, but it certainly triggered or amplified it. I myself developed panic attacks that still persist 14 years after quitting. Smoke buddy from high school became schizophrenic after we lost touch. His personality changed so much I don't even know if that's the word to use. It was more like his soul changed. He'd stutter all the time and now has a weird tone in his voice, kind of like a cartoon character. He was constantly saying what and couldn't focus on our conversation. I'm pretty sure he'd been smoking all day and night for 4 years. Another friend of mine is still visiting a doctor for OCD 1 year after she quit. Really makes you wonder if the weed brings up these issues or if it's hereditary. Weed causes burnout in some people. Rare smoker here. The next day is a complete write-off. I don't even feel well enough to drive after 3 puffs. That means your endocannabinoid system is pretty much bang on. You barely need any. Care to explain a bit more? I have a few friends for whom it does nothing but make them feel ill. George Carlin once gave an interview where he said marijuana is a drug that engenders its own disuse. He explained that, after a certain amount of time, the expansive, creative element of being high goes away and all that's left is the loopy, dull-witted effect. I've found this to be very true for myself. In my teens and 20s, getting stoned had this golden feel where it felt like I was thinking on a different level and the world felt more vibrant. After my mid to late 20s, that golden feeling became rare. By the time I entered my 30s, it was gone. A permanent part of the past. Nowadays, on the rare occasion when I get stoned, it's just a different form of intoxication. It's like a different flavor of being drunk, for lack of a better description. I'm not sure if this is the case for all people, or just for some. At the very least, it seems like the dull, sorta drunk vibe is good enough for a lot of people to keep going with it. For me, it isn't. Your mileage might vary, but it's important to know that the way weed makes you feel might someday change. Edit. This post seems to have resonated a lot with people. It's also neat to see that there's some variance with how people have or have not experienced this phenomenon. I feel like this is an area of marijuana usage that should be studied more. Right now, there's really only anecdotal information to go on. It's really not a matter of tolerance. While taking a break from usage will make it easier to get stoned quickly, it's still the same stoned feeling that lacks the golden vibe of earlier years. I don't know if this is something that has more to do with age or with time spent using. It might be something that involves a developing brain and its elasticity in adolescence versus a fully developed adult brain being more rigid. It might be that the golden time is there whenever one begins usage, but is a limited quantity that runs out over time. This is definitely the factor most in need of study. So far as I've seen, strains don't make a difference. Some kinds of weed get me more stoned than others, but I haven't encountered any that have the same golden vibe from before. Next time I'm back home in Oregon, I'll give some different styles a try and see if there's any difference. Thanks to everyone for sharing their experiences. This is too true. I used to smoke every day as a teen. It made me fill art books with drawings and paintings and did wonders for my intense depression and suicidal ideation. As I grew older I found that all it did was make me tired, like I'd just taken a Benadryl or something. No more desire to be creative, which really sucked. Reminds me of this short video that visualizes what you said. I'm 34 and I totally agree. Now, to add to it, my attention span is finished. At 24 I would watch 2 movies a day. Nowadays I can't sit through 15 minutes. Books are bought through Amazon and kept on the shelf. Games are lined up but I don't wanna even do that. I completely lack focus and concentration. Less is more. When you find that's no longer true, it's time for a break. I discovered this recently. I've been a daily smoker for about 3 years, but recently I've decided to cut down for my mind and my wallet's sake. Even after just a few days of not smoking I can get insanely high off just a small amount now. Before I'd nail 3-4 joints a night on my own. Now just one puts me on my ass. Clarification. I am a stoner, but everything has a downside. I'm just curious about what those are. Since all I hear is weed is amazing, I'm totally psychologically addicted, and it's hard to quit because it's comparatively safe. Edit. And the fact everyone says that it's comparatively safe implies it's not fully safe. There are few downsides, I'm sure, but they have got to be downsides. Long-term use followed by quitting cold turkey can trigger depression, as cannabis causes a dopamine release when it's introduced to the brain. It's a similar effect to alcohol, but less extreme. Edit. If you're struggling with withdrawals, or considering dramatically reducing quitting, here are a few studies on what you're dealing with, and how to treat it. BNLMNIH.gov link S5 title. BNLMNIH.gov link. BNLMNIH.gov link. There are thousands of articles out there with advice on how to get over the withdrawal period. It sucks pretty effing bad in the beginning, speaking from experience. But rest assured there are many ways to reduce symptoms and speed up your recovery. Put in the effort. Seriously, it's worth it. And most importantly, you're worth it. I actually started smoking because of depression. Not the healthiest choice, sure, but much cheaper than therapy. I know myself well enough to know I get addicted easily, so I recently went on a cold turkey break just to prove that I could. About a week or so after that I fell back into a pretty heavy depressive episode. Could have been caused by anything, mind you, but I'm definitely going to be careful about taking smaller but more frequent breaks going forward. Ducking like and subscribe.